as Dr. Frike said, I'm Erin Williams. I'm with the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, and I'm the agency's Industrial Hemp Program Manager. Today I'm going to very, very quickly, as Dr. Frike said, we've got just a few minutes each, but I'm very quickly going to go over some of the legislation that the 2020 Virginia General Assembly enacted as it pertains to hemp. And I'm going to give you all an update on where we are in Virginia with respect to USDA's hemp production rule. One program update, some of you may know that the Industrial Hemp Program Coordinator, Jasmine Harwell, resigned from her position with VDACS this summer. Today is the first day of the new Industrial Hemp Program Coordinator. Nakia Thomas, again, just joined us today, so I hope that as you have an opportunity to interact with her, you will welcome her to Hemp. We will put her contact information on our website as in the next couple of weeks as she once she gets her feet under her. So to touch quickly on what the General Assembly did with respect to hemp this past General Assembly session, using Virginia's Appropriation Act, which is our budget, the General Assembly increased the industrial hemp registration application fees. Those new fees became effective July 1. The grower registration application fee is $150. The processor registration is $200, and the dealer registration is $250. The General Assembly's goal, as we understand it, with those fee increases was to help the industrial hemp program become self-sustaining. The General Assembly also had some legislation addressing hemp products intended for smoking. Those products have to be packaged and distributed now in accordance with Section 18.2, 371.2. Essentially, the hemp products intended for smoking can't be sold to someone under 21 and need to have certain it needs to have certain verbiage on its labels and signage at the point of retail. So I refer you to that section of the code to get the details. That's not a section of the code that VDACS has authority to enforce or provide guidance on. So again, take a look at the section, and if you have questions, we suggest consulting with legal counsel. Another frequently asked question that we receive with respect to hemp products, one of them being hemp products intended for smoking, is this a product that someone does not have to have a registration to possess? The code is not clear as to when industrial hemp becomes a hemp product. To have industrial hemp in Virginia, you need to have an industrial hemp registration. To possess a hemp product, you don't need any registration. But the code's not real clear when hemp moves into hemp product. So that's another place at which VDACS encourages people planning to sell hemp-derived items to seek legal counsel to talk about when that hemp has been processed enough to become a hemp product. The General Assembly also addressed hemp-derived extracts intended for human consumption. That's an example of one of those types of products is a CBD oil that you see on the market. The General Assembly has kind of formalized the process that VDACS is currently using to inspect processors that are manufacturing hemp extracts intended for human consumption. Right now we're working under a policy directive from the governor. The 2020 legislation directs the Board of Agriculture and Consumer Services to develop regulations that will establish standards for extracts that are intended for human consumption. That's a regulation that will eventually be administered by VDACS's food safety program. The regulation's currently under development and will be available for public comment. Keep an eye on the Virginia Regulatory Town Hall to engage in that public comment period if you're interested, or certainly let me know and I can get you to the right place. Currently, VDAC's food safety program is inspecting processors who are manufacturing extracts intended for human consumption. That link that you see there on the PowerPoint will take you to the information about how to apply to the food safety program and how to begin that process to come under food safety inspection. So my second bit of information today pertains to our response to the USDA's hemp production rule that it proposed as it was required to do in the 2018 Farm Bill. This is a hemp production rule that requires the regulators of hemp production to sample 100% of the crop grown in the state, and to do that 15 days before harvest. There are certain reporting requirements, and I won't get into all of the details today, but VDAC did initially submit a plan to USDA to regulate in accordance with USDA's hemp production rule and all that it required. We did that in the beginning of the year. USDA then requested in February that we revise certain portions of our plan that they felt didn't meet the requirements that they were looking for. So we've been considering those suggestions from USDA, and then COVID significantly impacted the world and impacted the Commonwealth's budget. And when we reflected on the cost to implement and administer a program that would comply with USDA's hemp production rule here in Virginia and the state of the Commonwealth's budget generally, it just, VDAC got to the determination that it just was not a sound decision to resubmit our plan and attempt to administer a program that complied with USDA's hemp production rule. So we have deferred to the U.S. Department of Agriculture for the regulation of the production of a hemp crop in Virginia beginning on November 1. So our primary authority over hemp production will end October 31st of this year. USDA will become the primary regulator of hemp production in Virginia, again, beginning on November 1st. VDAC, though, will continue to issue industrial hemp grower, processor, and dealer registrations as we are required to do in the Virginia Industrial Hemp Law. That industrial hemp registration gives the registration holder an affirmative defense against a potential criminal charge for possessing cannabis. We are working on a solution to give that same affirmative defense to a USDA hemp license holder. That's a process that's in the works. But as we sit today, in order to comply with federal law, a Virginia hemp grower should apply for a USDA hemp license. To do so, you'll need to obtain a FBI criminal history report and then apply using USDA's hemp license application for that license. USDA is right now requesting that you email your license application to that email address you see there on my PowerPoint. USDA is issuing licenses on a rolling basis. There's not currently a deadline by which you have to apply for a license. I expect they will implement a deadline in the future, but right now they want to work to get everybody licensed so that those who desire to comply with federal law will get their license. USDA would like to get those licenses to everybody on November 1st. If you have questions specific to the USDA license, their website has a ton of information about the process, and if you have questions that you can't find answers to, the email address farmbill.hemp@usda.gov is again specific to the hemp licensure process, and they will answer your questions that they receive there. If you have questions about VDAC's hemp registration program, again, we are still here. We are still issuing registrations. That registration is your affirmative defense against a criminal charge here in Virginia. If you have questions, there's information on our website, and my email address is there. And that, in a very few minutes, is an overview of the past 9 months.